This is a huge week for the Louisville men's basketball team. On today's episode of the Locked On Louisville podcast, we're explaining what's at stake for Pat Kelsey's program. With that said, let's get right on into the show.
You are Locked On Louisville, your daily podcast on the Louisville Cardinals. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome in to another episode of the Locked On Louisville podcast. I'm your host, Dalton Pence. Today's episode brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off of your first purchase. As always, want to personally thank you all for making us your first listen of the day. Just a reminder, the Locked On Louisville podcast is free on all streaming services, 5 days a week, your team every day. Even more so than last week, this week is huge for the Louisville Cardinals. There's a lot at stake for Pat Kelsey's program. Some big-time recruiting updates, some players that will likely be on campus, and some pending decisions that we will discuss in the first segment. We'll talk about one of the players that is rumored to be joining the team soon. That is former top 50 recruit Wesley Yates. And then to conclude the show, we will discuss the Cardinals being on the schedule to land an official visit from a top 5 transfer. That is Utah State's great Osobor. A lot of stuff to talk about. Some of the names, probably most of the names you're familiar with. I think the only two that we haven't talked about, we will go a little bit further in depth to discuss their respective situations in the second and third segments of the show, respectively. But this was shaping up to be a fairly large week, some key decisions looming, but there were some developments on Tuesday that has a lot of Louisville fans excited. It raises the stakes for what could happen this week. For starters, when Jayden Quaintance, the top 10 2024 recruit, visited campus late last week for his official, he left without committing, and since then, it was announced that he was going to make multiple visits following the Louisville visit. Most Louisville fans felt deja vu, didn't really consider that the Cardinals had a good chance. I was one of those people that have been vocal on the show that I just haven't felt like Louisville's had a good shot. Well, it was announced 2 places. Number one, by Ty Spalding on his premium board, which that information has now since been put out, so we will talk about it openly, just crediting Ty Spalding of CardinalSports.com, the rival site for Louisville. And on Truly Donovan's Discord, Truly has been very, very good. The basis, it seems like right now, is that Jayden Quaintance is down to Louisville and Memphis. He will not be taking the visit to Arkansas and seemingly won't be visiting Kentucky either. So between Louisville and Memphis, and there are rumors that that visit with Memphis might be postponed. So the Cardinals are now officially on the clock. He is set for an official visit this weekend. If it gets postponed or canceled, you feel good about where Louisville is sitting. In fact, the people in the know, like Ty, even like Truly Donovan, I believe, feel good about where Louisville is at. So complete 180 from how we felt just 12 hours ago. Things changed so quickly. And I think it's really rich to see fans of Arkansas and Kentucky fans talk about, oh, Louisville's just dropping bags, like that wasn't exactly what Kentucky did over the past 15 years. I digress. I'm not here to have that conversation, but huge week because all eyes are on the 5-star prospect who Louisville is prioritizing. And if he were to commit to Louisville, you would imagine it's possibly going to be sooner rather than later. Makes a lot of sense as to why it would be that way. So he is the number one player that we here at Locked On Louisville are watching to see what he does, because it can have an impact on what Louisville chooses to do with filling out the roster. Rumored visit has been talked about over the past couple of days. It seems like that is getting closer and closer to fruition for Wisconsin guard transfer Chucky Hepburn, starting 103 games in his 3 seasons up in Madison. Very solid point guard for the Badgers. basically ever since stepping foot on campus. It's becoming more and more real that he's going to be on campus this week, barring something absolutely unforeseeable. But at the moment, we feel really good about where Louisville is sitting in regards to that. I believe someone said Jody Demling said that they feel good about, or that he feels good about where Louisville is at with Hepburn in terms of getting a visit. The first visit for the veteran point guard, you would feel good about the Cardinals' chances, which we have since he entered the portal about a little less than a week ago. So things could be moving pretty quickly for this recruitment. Moving on down the line, 2 players on commitment watch. That the first one is Washington transfer Wesley Yates, former top 50 prospect, that we will discuss his recruitment a little bit more in depth in the next segment. But he was on campus on Tuesday, posted a lot about it on social media, and if I had to bet, he is probably the next commitment, if not the next, the one immediately following the next. So you have to feel good about Wesley Yates. If you are the Cardinals, Yates would be not necessarily, I don't want to call him a project because he missed all last season due to injury, but I think he's a multiple-year developmental player for this program, which is good because you need some guys that you can develop and get ready for the future. So Wesley Yates on campus on Tuesday. Very interested to see how the visit goes and what a commitment timeline would look post-visit. Moving on down the line, Aboubacar Traore from Long Beach State visited campus officially Thursday through, I want to say, Saturday morning, if I'm not mistaken. Didn't really hear much on Sunday, or actually Sunday, and then Monday got word that Louisville side feels pretty good about the Long Beach State forward, the 6'5" power forward, small forward, whatever position you want to put him at. Is an electric player, does everything pretty well outside of perimeter shooting, but everything he does is really, really solid. I expect him to possibly be on commitment watch as soon as Wednesday morning. That is something to follow, is watching that recruitment fairly closely and seeing how that ends up for the Cardinals. So Wesley Yates, Aboubacar Traore, both right there when it comes to potential commitments, and I'm interested to see what Louisville is able to do. The last player we'll talk about on this segment is Ben Humrichous. Visited Louisville officially over the weekend. Indiana side says they're going to take a little bit of a step back because Louisville's coming on very strong. However, Humrichous is still being pursued by other programs. I believe Purdue might be in the mix. He was on Illinois' campus on Tuesday, so that's something to definitely keep an eye on because the Illini have been very, very successful in the portal. Overall, you have to feel like Louisville is right there in the mix, getting him on sort of a surprise official visit, and it's going to ultimately depend on what happens after this visit. I don't think he has any other visits planned at this point in time, but you never know with how transfer portal recruiting goes. So 5 players each have a significant development of their own for this segment, and collectively, this makes this an even more important week than the last one. Last one, you had Corin Johnson, Traore on campus. Unfortunately, Trey Townsend wasn't able to make it to campus. Omar Balla wasn't able to make it to campus. Both have or will commit elsewhere. Jayden Quaintance was on campus, but now you sort of reap the benefits of those visits, and you're on, I mean, truthfully, I'm not saying this is what's going to happen, but there is a reality out there in the multiverse that you could see 5 new commitments from this program by next Tuesday. All 5 of these guys, there is a legitimate chance that all could become Louisville Cardinals in that time. In fact, I would say that multiple commitments are on the horizon, potentially before the weekend even starts. And if Chucky Hepburn is visiting this weekend, you have to feel good about Louisville's chances to land him fairly soon after that. So, like I said, everything is sort of up in the air at the moment, but you have to feel fairly good. This is exciting times. The momentum is building. It's crazy how things can change so quickly. I mentioned this on a Twitter space on Monday evening, how things change so quickly. They got the commitment from Corin Johnson, and all of the concerns started turning to positive momentum and excitement and encouragement. And now you start to see some positive things happening after that. It's all going to depend on if Pat Kelsey and the Cardinals staff can close the deals. And I think one recruitment that they might be able to close sooner rather than later is Washington guard transfer Wesley Yates. Yates missed all of last season, but has the potential to be a very special player in the future. And we will discuss what he could bring to this program here momentarily after we tell you about our friends over at Gametime. For me, getting tickets is always a frustrating experience. I went to an NFL game back in December, the Colts Raiders on New Year's Eve, and it was just tough looking through all the different ticketing services. But when I went to Gametime, it was quick, easy, and convenient. I got a last-minute ticket for the best deal out there, and I got to view what the view was from my seat, got the lowest price guarantee, and much, much more. If you scroll through the Gametime app, you can see what I'm talking about and actually look at the upcoming MLB games and other high-profile events. Save up to 60% off buying last-minute tickets for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, etc. Toggle the all-in pricing feature to show the total upfront with no surprise fees at checkout. Do yourself a favor. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets as a whole with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONCollege. That's LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Also want to take this time to tell you about our friends over at FanDuel. It is continuing to be playoff time in the NBA and NHL. Baseball's in full swing, and FanDuel is your place to bet on every game. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150 win or lose. Bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks, all on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Don't wait any longer. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet an automatic win. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. Cardinal fans, the NFL draft is just a couple days away. Get ready with the Locked On NFL mock draft that is now available. You can find the ultimate 6-episode series on Locked On's NFL draft to hear who the Locked On experts are picking for every NFL franchise, with live reactions from local college football experts and even the fantasy football angle. The Locked On NFL mock draft is available now on Locked On NFL Draft on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. One player that was on campus, not necessarily surprisingly, but it was a quick turnaround from when it was announced to when he made it onto campus, is Washington guard Wesley Yates. Yates was a member of the 2023 class, the 53rd best player in the country, according to 24/7 Sports, the 7th best shooting guard and 3rd best player in the state of Texas. He was in the composite a little bit higher, 46, to give him that top 50 ranking. Chose Washington over Auburn, LSU, Stanford, and Texas. Wesley Yates is from Beaumont, Texas, 6'4" combo guard, weighs 200 pounds, and unfortunately had to miss this season. I believe it was due to a stress fracture in his foot, but obviously doesn't seem like there's going to be any long-term ramifications on his overall health of that foot. There have been rumors that he was fairly impressive when he got onto campus before getting hurt and just really wasn't able to showcase any of his talent. Some will look at this move and say, of all the guys we're involved in, we're going to take a commitment from this player. It makes sense because Louisville was involved with Freddie DeLeon from Tennessee. They were involved with Davin Cosby from Alabama. And it seems like Wesley Yates is going to be the player that they go with out of the three as a developmental piece in the backcourt that they can refine his skill set and get him ready to produce for this team in the future. Not, I feel like I mention this all the time. You're not going to have 13 players that are going to be able to help your team right off the bat. You can't even play a rotation of 13 guys. It's not even realistic. 10 is the very most. So having a couple developmental pieces for the future to where all you're having to worry about is retaining good pieces of your roster rather than retaining, rather than reloading and having to replace everyone. Ali Khalifa from BYU will be available next season. That is a player to focus on. Wesley Yates, even though he's probably not going to get much opportunity this year, he'll be ready for the years to come. And who knows, he might. He might be a player that they look at and see as a rotational piece at the back end of the rotation. I'm not sure. It depends on what he looks like on campus. But if he's not seeing a ton of time, I feel like you're still in a good spot for the future with some of the grad transfers that Louisville's got at guard to say, hey, look, you can now turn your attention to a guy like Wesley Yates, who has a ton of talent. He's ranked in the top 50 for a reason. It would make a lot of sense. But what would you be getting in terms of the skill set? I asked some people down in the Houston area. Beaumont is, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's southeast of Houston, kind of closer to the Louisiana state line. I had some people in Houston. What do you think about this guy? And multiple mentioned the fact that he won multiple state titles in Texas, and that is not an easy feat to accomplish. He did that. He was a winning player on a very successful team, one of the go-to scoring options, perhaps the best player on that team, and you just can't replace that level of success and what he was able to do. Main thing for me with Yates is his jump shot needs a little bit of work. The way that he shoots it, it's like the release is sort of lower, closer to his face, and there's like a hitch in the shooting motion to where he has to create more separation off the dribble to get that jump shot off. He's got to fade away a good amount. If you can refine the mechanics of the jump shot just a tad, it doesn't have to be a full-on total remake, because that can be tough to do for a college player. That might be something more so he looks at in the professional route. I still think he's able to hit the shots with that motion. He has the tight dribbling ability, the craftiness handling the ball to create that level of separation to get that jump shot off. He has made some big-time shots in his high school career. Even though the shot might not be as aesthetically pleasing, it might not necessarily be as solid in terms of no hitches and manufacturingly speaking. That's not even a word, but there being some issues there. Regardless, he can hit the shots. 6'4", 200, uses that strength to his advantage, especially getting to the rim. Very proficient in finishing around the rim. His game is just smooth. Has a great feel for the game, both in transition and in the half court. Crafty with the ball in his hands. Smooth dribbler. I'm trying to think of who I can compare him to that would sort of shed a little light. Gives me like a Terry Rozier-esque level of finishing. The floater is incredible. Defensive upside is there. 6'4", active hands, ability to jump in the passing lanes, has that strength. So he's got the college level body. He's not overly explosive in terms of quickness left and right, but he's got a solid first step. He's good with the ball in his hands. He's able to knock down shots, and he's crafty in terms of getting to the basket and finishing through contact. And he was a very, very successful high school player in a tough area to be extremely successful in. So I would like this addition for a long-term prospect. I think Wesley Yates could be a very good player for the Cardinals. Who knows, maybe as soon as this year, but definitely geared towards 2025-26 to where he could 100% be a key player in this rotation. You need some developmental pieces. If you get a rotation of 10 guys ready to play and 3 developmental pieces, you feel very, very good. And if Wesley Yates is one of those developmental pieces, you feel very, very good. So you have to add some depth. But as Pat Kelsey is showing, he knows you have to add some big-time players that can produce right away and raise your ceiling. Louisville is scheduled to receive an official visit from a top 5 player in the portal currently. We will discuss the recruitment of great Osobor here in just a moment after we tell you about our friends over at Monopoly Go. Anyone who knows me personally knows I am extremely competitive. My competitive side is a huge fan of Monopoly Go. I'm sure you've heard of it. It's been downloaded over 150 million times. It's a great twist on Monopoly where you play on not one, but hundreds of Monopoly boards in crazy locations, building up amazing cities that bring you large money. You can charge rent from your friends on your iconic properties. You can heist their vaults of riches for yourselves, and the leaderboards show you who the largest Monopoly tycoon is. It's not just a competitive side that can love it. You can also be nice, team up with friends and people all around the world in time tournaments to earn huge rewards. Get in the game and join your friends. Download Monopoly Go now, free on the App Store or Google Play. Great Osobor, the Mountain West Player of the Year from Utah State, has scheduled 4 official visits. The number 5 transfer in the country will begin his visits down the road in Lexington at the beginning of next week. He will then go to Louisville, Texas Tech, and Washington within the span of give or take about a week. The thing with this recruitment for me, it's the same worry that I have with Omar Ballo, with Trey Townsend. If you don't get that first visit, there is a very decent chance that you won't get one. That's how transfer portal recruiting works. With Kentucky seemingly being, I guess, quote unquote, the favorite in this recruitment and getting the first official visit. Mark Pope visited him late last week on Friday. I don't mean to be a Debbie Downer or be too pessimistic. I'm trying to be as unbiased as I can, spitting it to you straight and telling you how I feel. How I feel is that I am in the wait and see approach. It's the same reason why I didn't get overly excited about Omar Ballo visiting, because he visited Indiana, canceled his visits, and then committed to the Hoosiers. Same reason why I didn't get excited about Trey Townsend. He visited Arizona and Ohio State, canceled the Louisville visit. Who knows if Osobor is going to visit Louisville? If he does, my excitement shoots through the roof. Pretty self-explanatory. I'm not going to get my hopes up yet. It's exciting news to be included with a player of Osobor's caliber, top 5 player in the portal that would ultimately raise your ceiling. But I'm still going to keep it 100 and tell you all that, hey, relax here and let's wait and see. If he makes it to Louisville's campus, get as excited as you want. But just relax for the moment. The Cardinals are taking a big swing at Osobor, and for good reason. The 6'8", 250-pound native of Bradford, England, was the Mountain West Player of the Year after averaging 17.7 points per game, 9.0 rebounds per contest, 2.8 assists per game, shot the ball 58% from the field. Not a great three-point shooter, 21%, not a great free throw shooter at 64%, averaged 1.4 blocks, 1.4 steals. And people say, well, would they go after Quaintance and Osobor? 100%. You're trying to stack talent as much as you can. If you have a rotation in your front court of great Osobor, Jayden Quaintance, and James Scott, oh man, you're feeling really, really good. Osobor, his offensive game is pretty much limited around the rim. 86% of his field goals were in the paint. He shot 63% on those attempts. 70th percentile in post-up offense. A lot of his offense is putbacks, getting the ball in the high post and utilizing that strength and long wingspan and crafty footwork to get towards the basket and finish with that tenacity and authority. Ranks in the top 60% in transition, so moves really well for a guy that is 6'8", 250 pounds. So offensively, I think that he knows his role and he plays it well. And for a system that preaches a lot of quick shots, a lot of perimeter shots, having a player that's as good as Osobor in the middle would do wonders. He averaged, just under 10 rebounds per game, sitting at 9. One aspect of a Pat Kelsey offense that is quite overlooked is the offensive rebounding priority in the past 5 seasons for those of Pat Kelsey's teams ranked inside the top 20 in KenPom's offensive rebounding percentage. He has a 10.1% offensive rebounding rate, which is very, very good. That's incredible. So great on the boards, especially offensively, defensively too. Very, very good offensively in terms of scoring. Has a 16% assist rate. So when he gets the ball in the high post, there's no guarantee that he's going to look to score because he does a good job of kicking it back out to open shooters. He did that in Danny Sprinkle's offense. And just overall finding the open man, very, very good passer. So offensively, he makes winning plays while affecting the box score too. Defensively, good on-ball defender. He lacks the height, being 6'8", but has that long wingspan, has that strength at 250 pounds, a 4.9% block rate for 1.4 blocks per contest. It's fairly certain that he's a very, very good shot blocker with good instincts. He spent the first 2 years of his career at Montana State and then saw his stock rise a ton with this season at Utah State. He's ranked as a top 5 player in the portal for a reason. Louisville gets him, and it raises the ceiling. It is an Omar Ballo front court addition or Omar Ballo-esque type front court addition, I should clarify. That would help Louisville out. If you get one of Great Osobor or Jayden Quaintance, you're feeling very, very good. But I do think that getting Osobor could also help Jayden Quaintance's development because he's going against Osobor in practice, a veteran guy that has succeeded at the college level, and it makes it to where Quaintance doesn't have to be the go-to guy in the front court. We have to realize that he's going to be 17 all of next college basketball season, so he could be a rotational player that's able to learn on his pace and not be relied upon to be the go-to star right away in the middle. A lot of fun stuff to talk about for the Louisville men's basketball program. Hopefully, on the next episode, we are able to talk about a commitment, and we will do that obviously when that comes time. But at this point, that will wrap up today's episode of the show. Everyone have a great day. We'll see you right back here tomorrow.